Hello, and welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. I'm Robin Green, LCSW in Tucson, Arizona.
And I'm Stephanie Edsall, an LCSW joining from Salt Lake City, Utah.
And we are so glad you're here because today we're opening something we've been looking forward to for a while. This is Series 10, and we're calling it All the Pendencies.
I love that. So, we're really talking about codependency, prodependency, dependency, interdependence, all of it. We're going to spend this series really sitting with these ideas, turning them over, looking at where they came from, and what they actually mean for the people living inside them.
Each episode is designed to stand on its own, but the thread running through all of it is codependency. Not a clinical diagnosis because it never made it to the DSM, and it is not a diagnosis, but really as a concept that has shaped how we talk about relationships, love, and need for decades. We want to really understand it, where it lives in the body, where it came from, how it got written into us, and what's underneath it when you strip the label away.
We're coming into this one with a lot of intention, and we're really glad to be doing it together.
Okay, let's get into it. Before we go anywhere today, I just want to take a moment to land. If you're listening while you're doing something else, that's okay. And if you can, even just for a minute, let yourself arrive here just a little. Just noticing wherever your body is in this moment, whatever it's holding, just be aware. We spend a lot of time in this work thinking about what's happening around us, who needs what, what's coming next, what we might have missed. And this series is an invitation to turn some of that attention back around. Not all at once, just a little, and just enough to notice. What does it feel like to be you right now in this moment? Because that's what this series is really about. Not a word, not a diagnosis, but the lived experience of what happens when we learn early and often to make everyone else okay before we make ourselves okay. And Stephanie, I know you've been sitting with the fawning piece specifically. And so where does that land for you?
I think it starts even before we have language for it, right? Because fawning gets talked a lot about now, it's made its way into common conversation, but I don't think it always gets the full picture that it needs.
Okay. Say more about that, please.
Well, most people know fight, flight, freeze. Pete Walker added fawn as the fourth response. And it's the one that maps most directly onto what we're talking about this whole series. But here's what's important. And Deb Dana makes this distinction really clearly. Fawning isn't automatic the way those other responses are. Fight, flight, freeze happen below conscious awareness. And fawning, it requires something more. A reading of the room, I guess, or a knowing,
And this is such an important distinction because it means this isn't the body just pulling an emergency brake. It's something that developed through relationship, through paying very close attention to other people and learning what worked.
Exactly. At its core, fawning is appeasement, orienting toward the other person, monitoring their mood, softening your own needs, maybe calibrating yourself to what they seem to need in the moment. But it is learned. It's practiced. It's years of getting very, very good at reading other people.
And what I want people to really hear, and what I find myself saying in my office over and over, is that there's nothing wrong with you for having learned this. In the context it was built in, it made complete sense. And if the relational environment around you was unpredictable or required careful navigation, learning to read it closely and respond accordingly was a reasonable thing to do. And survival.
100%. Because connection mattered, right? For a child especially. Losing the attachment figure, it isn't just painful. It's destabilizing in a profound way. So you learn what keeps the connection intact.
And you get so good at it. These are actually sophisticated relational skills. Reading people, attuning, responding to what's needed. The problem isn't that you learn them. It's that they can become the only way you know how to be in relationship.
Often without knowing it. So you don't know what you don't know. And if you've practiced this long enough, it really doesn't feel like a strategy anymore. It's just kind of baseline, or feels like who you are.
Yeah, I think that's the piece that stays with me, because the number of people who describe themselves as just easygoing or someone who doesn't like conflict or a natural caretaker. And underneath that is someone who learned very carefully to make everyone else okay first.
Exactly. So when people start to recognize that pattern, there's almost a wave of self-judgment that comes with it. I'm going to say more often than not. Something like, why did I do that? Why didn't I speak up? Or why do I keep doing this?
And the work, well, so much of the work is helping someone shift from asking, why are you like this, to what did you need to learn to be like this? Because that's a completely different question. It sits differently, and it opens a completely different door.
Yeah, I'd agree. A much more honest one.
And a much kinder one.
So let's talk about our nervous system nugget and stay in the body for a minute, because I think it's worth naming what's actually happening when fawning is running.
Polyvagal theory gives us such a useful map here. Porges' work and the way Deb Dana has made it so livable describes the autonomic nervous system as having these different states. And the ventral vagal state, the social engagement system, is designed to connect, to read faces, to attune, to find safety in relationship.
You know what's so interesting also about fawning specifically is that it lives right there in the social engagement system. It is not a shutdown response. It's not a mobilization response. It's relational through and through. The capacity for attunement that's supposed to help us connect gets recruited instead from managing and appeasing.
Yeah, so the instrument is the same. It's just being played for a completely different purpose.
What that means in the body is a kind of chronic vigilance, right? Always slightly on or able to get right on. So you're always tracking, even in moments that are objectively safe. There's always going to be a part of the system that hasn't gotten the message yet.
Which is why people often describe feeling exhausted in relationships even when nothing overtly difficult is happening. That monitoring itself takes energy. It's a full-time job that most people don't even know they're working.
Ooh, I like that. Plus, they're not getting paid for it. If anything, it's taking. Because think about it, the body holds it in the shoulders, in the gut, where most, if not dang near all, our serotonin is made. So it's really important to notice that. Also, in the breath someone takes before they say something honest. The vigilance has a texture.
Does. So when we talk about nervous system work in this context, we're not just talking about calming down. We're talking about slowly, carefully, helping the system learn that it doesn't have to work that hard anymore. And that there's enough safety to put some of that monitoring down.
Which takes time and relationship. And you guessed, a lot of repetition.
Repetition.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It really does. We want to leave you with something to work with, and we're going to start where we almost always start, which is orienting.
We come back to orienting a lot on this show, and we always want to name that intentionally. We return to it because it's foundational. And in the context of this episode, it feels especially right.
Because if fawning is attention that's learned to live entirely on other people, on their moods, their needs, their reactions, then orienting as a practice is an invitation to come back, to really notice what's here in this body, in this space right now.
It's not complicated. It's just letting your eyes move, letting your attention land on something in your environment. A color, a texture, a source of light, a sound that's been there the whole time. Not forcing anything. Just noticing that you have a body and it's somewhere specific.
For people whose attention has learned to live entirely on other people, this can feel surprisingly unfamiliar. Even a little disorienting at first, which is information worth being curious about.
Absolutely. If you try this and find that your attention keeps sliding back to someone else, maybe a worry about them, a replay of a conversation, a wondering about what they're feeling, that's not failure. That's the pattern showing you where it lives.
And just notice it. Gently come back. Let something in the room catch your eye. You don't have to fix anything today. You're just practicing the very small, very radical act of being somewhere with yourself.
And that's enough.
We want to leave you with something to sit with before we go.
When you think about the relationships in your life, past or present, where did you learn that keeping the peace was more important than being honest about what you felt?
You don't have to answer it right now. Just let it follow you a little this week and see what surfaces.
And if what surfaces is tender, that makes sense. This is tender territory, and you're in good company.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here for the opening of Series 10. We meant it when we said we're doing this one with intention, and you're really a part of why.
And remember, healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for therapy, medical care, or professional advice.
Listening to this podcast or this episode does not create a therapeutic, clinical, or professional relationship with us.
If you're experiencing distress, physical symptoms, or emotional concerns that feel overwhelming, we both encourage you to seek support from a qualified healthcare or mental health professional.
And if you are in immediate danger or need urgent support, please contact local emergency services or a crisis line in your area.